Hi, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of D2Football.com's NSIC Weekly. I'm Tom Frederick, announcer for the University of Sioux Falls. The show is led by my pod partner, the guy who picks against your team and then has the gall to attend your tailgate party, even shows up and eats your food. I can't believe this. It's the round mound of sound. Matt Witwicky, D2's Northern Sun columnist, I guess you could say. How do you like being compared to Charles Barkley these days? Is it terrible? Terrible?
You know what? Back in the days, I could hoop a little bit. I know that you probably find that hard to believe. I was more of a foot soldier than I was anything. But they used to call me the round mound of rebound back in the day. And actually, a nerdy friend of mine used to call me the spherical heap of glass cleaning, which essentially is the same thing. He just kind of got to it a different way. But, back when I was a bit of a skywalker, let's say, it's a little bit more of a rebounder and defender than a scorer. My ideal box score was more like, 10 boards, 7 points, few blocks, maybe a few moving picks and some elbows. So
I understand they could barely get a sheet of paper underneath your shoes when you sky.
You know what? True story. I could actually stand directly under the hoop, 2 feet on the ground, and go straight up and grab rim.
Wow. You're just like Will Sonnet. No brag, just fact.
That's right. Exactly. But
I guess so. A little bit later on, we'll know who Will Sonnet is, but you don't.
I'll look that up later. I don't really care at the moment. But let me ask you. I know you're always busy with. Anytime I drive by your place, and people don't realize that we only live, less than a mile from each other on the same road, which is really awkward. But when I drive by your place, you're normally outside doing some type of project that my HOA would account for on my side. But, leaf removal or something like that. What's the latest in your world?
And folks, when he drives by, he means he drives by. He doesn't stop. He doesn't honk. He doesn't wave. He just drives by.
Maybe.
Like I don't even exist. There's been a lot of leaf removal. I went 3 times to the drop-off yesterday. Yeah, the pickup was full 3 times. After that, I played a little golf. Actually, I rode bike first, then I played a little golf. But I think those activities are coming to a halt here this week, thanks to dear old Mother Nature. Watched a little baseball last night, and of course, doing a little football prep. I got Pittsburgh State all locked and loaded up between my ears upstairs.
Maybe we'll do a quiz on their 2 deep later or something.
All right. Enough BS. Let's get this shindig in motion. All right. Let's get the party started.
Fair enough.
Recognized by the NSIC for their production on the field, October 21st are the guys known as Players of the Week. Augustana's Jared Epperson, a senior running back from Omaha, was a major factor while the Vikings won the Battle of Unbeatens with Mankato on Saturday. Epperson accounted for over 200 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns as the Vikings beat Mankato 28-10. He rushed for 136 yards and a score. It was an 86-yard scamper, as Witt would like to say. It was Jared's second straight 100-plus yard rushing performance. He also caught 3 balls for 65 yards and a score as Augie improved to 8-0 for just the 3rd time ever.
Yeah, I thought that he was just the most important player for them offensively in this game. Being at the contest, getting the chance to go ahead and see everything, he had a huge run right away. Just a huge they lost track of him 2 different times where he ended up going, for a score. So funny thing, I ran into him after the game, congratulate him and so forth. And he jokingly said to me, I see I was your 6th round pick in your D2 fantasy league. I found that very interesting that not only did he know about it, but that he even knew what round it was.
I got to ask, who was your 1st round pick?
Some guy named Matoka. He plays for a team out in Colorado.
Yeah, right. John Matoka. Gotcha. Moving on to the next side of the ball, defense. Northern State freshman linebacker Jake Adams out of Pulaski, Wisconsin. Boy, did he have a night up in Aberdeen. He had a team leading 11 tackles. 10 of those were solos. And he recorded a 15-yard pick six in the third quarter, which was the Wolves' first touchdown of the game. And later on, Jake Adams had a pass breakup. He deflected it, and it went into a teammate's hands, and he returned it 45 yards for a touchdown as Northern came from 19 down to beat Wayne State 28-26.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were dead in the water in this game, and they rallied. And from what I had heard, if I recall right, this was his first start, Tom. And if I'm not mistaken, he's a true freshman. So that's a miraculous thing in itself. And then to have this big a game, somebody's gonna have to tell them they're not all going to be like this.
As I'm looking at the screen there, I do not like the jersey he's wearing. That number 54 is not easily readable. Agree or disagree?
I would agree with that. I'm not a huge fan of the dark number on the dark uniform.
No.
But as a matter of fact, when I was watching the game, I thought to myself, the yellow would look better for the number there, would pop more. But they don't really ask me about these things, any team for that matter.
I like the number on the special teamer there on the right side of the screen. That pops.
There
His
you
name
go.
is Avery Book. He's Augustana's junior punter. He comes from the Rust Belt, Ironton, Ohio. He punted 6 times in the game Saturday for an average of over 45 yards per punt. He had 3 kicks over 50 with a long of 59. Half of Avery Book's efforts, mind you, were into a 20-mile-an-hour northwest wind, which is not an easy thing to do. I'm going to call this a phenomenal performance by this special teamer.
Well, as you know, I'm kind of the doctor of the special teams, especially the kicking game. But we joke around about how I don't pay close attention to these type of things. But you know what? At the game, he had one late in the game that I thought, wow, okay, he just flipped the field right there into the wind, and it was really impressive. Probably that 59-yarder. And immediately I thought, wow, Mankato probably thought they were going to get good field position, and they didn't. When I notice things like that, that says something, Tom.
All right. This is the man whose middle name is Schmaz, because there's a lot of schmazes on punt returns, right?
Exactly.
All right. Our recap of Week 8 shows the NSIC is down to 1 unbeaten team, the aforementioned Augustana Vikings. They sit atop the heap. The Vikings have moved to number 10 in D2Football.com's top 25. Bemidji sitting at 12. Mankato has slipped to 15th. Round mound of sound, your thoughts on the representation of the league in the top 25?
Yeah, being a voter in ours and being pretty closely involved with kind of looking at all that, there's a lot of movement that happened this last week with Augustana winning their game, 21st ranked for us over 4th ranked Mankato. Then we had other contests like UTPB down south in Texas beating Angelo State, West Florida beating Delta State, Central Missouri blasting Emporia State 77-27 in a game between ranked opponents. And Tom, the Mules put up 961 yards of offense. I thought you would find that interesting.
Come again? 961 yards by themselves?
Yes, and their quarterback is probably going to be the favorite for the Harlan Hill. But so all these kind of results cause teams to kind of move up or down and things of that sort. And, I had somebody ask me, for example, how did Bemidji end up dropping a few spots in your poll? Well, you can't look at this stuff like their standings. Just because you win doesn't mean another team can't jump you based on their outstanding outcome, like Augustana. West Florida and Central Missouri both could say that same kind of thing. So I think there's times, Tom, when we're looking at the top 25, you can't look at it at standings because you're only as good as your resume to date. And that's kind of how I see it going forward. And, like I look at, for example, like the AFCA poll, and I see Ferris State ranked at 8th. I got to be honest with you. We got them at 4th, and I don't think there's 7 other teams in D2 who are beating Ferris. If you think that, maybe you haven't watched, enough Ferris recently or over the years, because they're better than that.
All right, for those looking ahead of the playoffs, which are less than a month away, the first NCAA regional rankings, they are out. They list the top 10 teams in each of the 4 super regions. And the key word there is list. 4 NSIC teams are in the mix: Augie, Bemidji, Mankato, Duluth. The teams are not put in order of strength in this first installment. Rather, the NCAA does it alphabetically, which I do not comprehend.
Yeah, I kind of get a good laugh out of this. It's like they're afraid that we can't handle the truth somehow, or something along those lines.
Look at you with a 30-year-old reference from A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Let's take a closer look at the regional rankings right now. All right, man, I got to squint to read that. Sorry, buddy, but
I know it.
what would the top 10 look like if the NCAA had actually ranked the schools according to their ability and not what their name begins with? Can you inform us a little bit here?
That's a tremendous, tremendous question. As we take a look at this here, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit, if we could, about the teams that all have an X to the far right hand side, and those teams, in this order, essentially, are Colorado Mines, who right now is trending to be the 1 seed. Western Colorado, who plays them this week, is also really high, and they're 8-0 too. Then you've got Augustana, you've got Central Washington, you've got UTPB, Permian Basin down there. You've got Minnesota State, you've got Bemidji State, you've got Minnesota Duluth, Texas A&M's Kingsville, and then finally Angelo State wrapping out the group. Now they have 3 losses, but they have a really high strength of schedule. Now, Wayne State is just outside of the mix, and so is Minnesota State Moorhead. I think those guys are both going to need a little bit of help if they're going to try and make the dance, but they end up taking the top 7 out of this. And when we have games like Bemidji and Duluth upcoming this week, each one of these weeks is almost like a playoff for them to make sure that they're going to be able to get in the tournament. So a lot of football left to be played. But what they did essentially is they took the top 10, and this is what it would really look like, as opposed to the alphabet that they gave us instead.
All right. You mentioned the big dance. Why don't you do a little dancing here? Bring that screen down and then bring up the NSIC standings, if you would.
I'm going to do that. Let's see. Standings. I'm not even having any glitching when I do this or anything. So this is too good to be true. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and present our standings here for you, and you tell me, is this what we need here, buddy?
Yeah, there we go. That's the league right now through 7 weeks as we head into week 8. We're going to recap.
Yeah, Tom, in looking at this right now,
it's through 8 weeks, not through 7. Some of them have non-conference games in there. My bad.
Exactly. And you know what? So if we take a look on that top line, you can see by the way they go left to right, conference first, then overall. So you bring up a good point there. Augustana put themselves in an outstanding spot right now, being the lone unbeaten. Right. And as we kind of talked about, as we go ahead and look at the next grouping of teams, Duluth, obviously Mankato and Bemidji, all with 1 loss. It looks like it's a 4-team race right now is really what it comes down to, because with Wayne dropping their game this last week and Moorhead already at 3 losses, they're going to need a little bit of help. Right. And then as you move down towards the bottom, we've got Mary is the lone winless team. And, we'll talk a little bit about the game that they have upcoming, because they're going to play the team right ahead of them in the standings and maybe have a shot for a W.
That might be the game of the week. Oh, I guess not. No. Let's open our show, or continue the show. We've already opened it some 12, 14, 15 minutes ago, and our guest is probably taking a nice long nap. This contest in the Northern Sun from last week was the Mavericks of Mankato schlepping over to Sioux Falls for the 2nd time this fall. They played Augustana this time. Augie pulled off what was to many a surprising outcome, 28-10, although I picked the Vikings and Whip didn't.
That was so disingenuous, but keep going.
You were at the game tell us a little bit about what you witnessed and then play a little video from that contest.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous fall day, sunny but not hot, just a little bit of breeze. Both teams really pumped up for battle unbeatens, and a lot of people around the league kind of felt Augie could punch back against Mankato, but maybe wouldn't be able to physically pull it off against against the Mavs. And Coach OJ and his group had other plans. I thought Augie swarmed the ball on defense and allowing very little in the Mavs running game. It really forced them into the air, which really isn't kind of what they're geared for. And, on the other side, the Vikings' first half wasn't exactly a thing of beauty. They only had 4 first downs, but with a few minutes left before half, Epperson gets loose for an 86-yard run that really shifted the momentum. And all of a sudden, they have an advantage 7-3 at half, where it had felt like Mankato had kind of controlled things, but only had 3 points to show for it. So, then from there, Augustana was able to hit a few plays offensively in the second half when they needed to. The Mavs didn't find pay dirt until late in the contest when things were already out of reach. And, I thought Augie did a nice job of shortening the football game when they drove the ball in the fourth quarter and just didn't give Mankato much chance there at the end.
Hey, George Michael, Sports Machine, why don't you visually stimulate us here with some video, huh?
There we go. So here we go with Mankato and Augie kicking off, and right out of the gate here. Here's the 4th and 5 play where Bauman gets rid of the ball when the blitz comes and Epperson gets in for the score. It's 14-3 at this point. Felt like kind of a commanding lead. I can't lie. Sheen Butler Lawson didn't go for 50 yards in this one. They really bottled him up and his other fellow ball carriers. That was kind of the story, I thought, for the day, was how well Augie defended the run. Then Epperson gets loose once again and scores here as they kind of run a bit of a wheel. And then, we get Mankato's, down 11 with 3 timeouts, and they burn them up here trying to get a stop. And Augie kind of says, if you want to keep playing, we'll keep playing also. And they go ahead and score right there at the end and go ahead and get a 28-10 win. So really impressive, resounding win for the Vikings.
Congratulations to Augustana. And here to discuss the Vikings' big victory, Jeff Filling, the voice of the Vikings. And I've known Jeff for more than 40 years. He hasn't aged a day in those 40 years.
Yeah.
How do you rate Saturday's win, Jeff, out of the many hundreds of football games you've called for Augustana?
Well, I would say that in the NSIC era, it would be maybe the second or third best. There was a Trey Hyde last-second touchdown pass at Winona
Remember
that got Augustana into the playoffs his senior year. And the win over Grand Valley State in the semi or quarterfinals in 2010, which was kind of similar, I don't know if you guys remember, to Saturday. I mean, Grand Valley was one of the top teams in the country, and Augustana beat them by more than 3 scores. That was a resounding victory. But this, it's the 53rd game in the series. I mean, they played a lot of times in all sports, obviously, and it's a big rivalry when the two teams play. So considering Augustana won 2 years ago in Mankato, but had lost 8 straight before that, a lot of close ones, this was a big one.
Yeah.
A season. Go ahead, Whit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a season ago, you guys had lost Jared Epperson to injury, also quarterback, Casey Bauman. Both of those guys have been in the lineup, since that time. But last year, one of them missed half the year. The other had a shoulder injury that was lingering. How big has it been to have both of these guys in the lineup for you?
Well, outside of the defense, it's been unbelievable. I mean, Casey's thrown at almost 68% of his passes have been completed. Epperson has almost 900 yards in total offense. If he doesn't get hurt in early in game 4 last year, he's going to rush for over 1,000 yards. He already had 360, and he would have ended up adding this season as the all-time leading rusher. He's about ready to pass C.J. Ham for 4th place. And Joe Clark is the all-time leading rusher. But Jared, had he played the whole season last year, would have maybe got to 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
Total.
After the game concluded, Jeff, I was kind of walking the field. The parents and most of the players had left. I got my, my camera bag and everything. I'm heading on out, and I run into defensive coordinator Mike Simple. And Coach Simple is, I kind of commended him on their performance and, shutting down an offense that I didn't see getting shut down this season, frankly. And, Coach is kind of a quieter guy and doesn't draw a lot of attention to himself. And, he came from St. Cloud, where that program kind of got their feet pulled out from under him by the administration there when they pulled football out. And I really thought this was a huge moment of kind of accomplishment for Mark. And, given how big a performance it was by Augustana, and maybe the best performance I've seen defensively from them in years, what were your thoughts?
Mark is outstanding, and he makes really good game changes, and he's so good at it. A lot of times at halftime, teams have hardly scored the second half in games. His in-game management is outstanding. Jerry has really been good at hiring defensive coordinators. You got Jake Dickert was his first one here, who's now the head coach of Washington State, and then Brad Bergstrom was his second defensive coordinator here, went to South Dakota State, and now is head coach of Winona State. And Jordan Malone was in between, and he is now the defensive back coach at Washington State, played at Mankato. He's had really good defensive coordinators, and I really like his new offensive coordinator, Tyler Powpow, as well. He's been really good. He's shortened the playbook, do what you do best, take things that are there, which is a little bit of a change or a tweak from prior years. So the two of them have done a really good job and allowed Jerry to game manage.
Sure.
3 games to go, Jeff. Augie doesn't have any gimmies left at Wayne, at Northern, then finishing at home against Bemidji. But is this one of the better Viking teams that you've covered?
Yeah, again, in the NSIC era, I would only compare it to that playoff team. I mean, C.J. Ham's senior year, they go out to California and they're doing great. Get a fumble, miss a wide open guy, and you end up not winning that football game. But yeah, these guys are, I think, as good as that 10 team.
How do you fellas rate the NSIC this year? Up, down? About the same as we've experienced the last decade?
What I see is the middle getting better, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. More head teams like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the top teams are always good. Sioux Falls is struggling a little bit, but Jim's going to get it going. He's a hell of a coach, or excuse me, heck of a coach. Sorry, Matt.
He works blue all the time, Jeff. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So I think the strong teams will always be strong, but I mean, you look at Moorhead after the game at Augustana this year. John Schultz said to me, this might end up being a good win.
Mm-hmm.
And it sure is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really good.
No, you're absolutely right. And what's funny is that I think, when you take a look, even Northern's kind of battling back and not looking like they were for a moment there. And that middle is, I mean, you also gotten rid of the Upper Iowas, and you've gotten rid of Crookston. And I know our Upper Iowa folks who still watch are probably going to, send me a pipe bomb or something, but you know what? It's the truth. So,
but they're winning in their league. So good for them. They're games.
I saw.
Look out what pitchforks coming your way here.
Yes, exactly right.
Let's move on to the remaining week 8 games. Go over what happened, should we? So we keep this.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get the slate pulled on up here, my friend. And we should have that right here for us.
We're going to start with that.
Are we about good there, my guy?
Yep, you're good.
Okay.
Non-conference contest right at the top of the heap there. Davenport from Michigan came into Bismarck and beat UMary 44-34. The Marauders fell behind 16-0, but rallied to make it interesting. A one-score contest, actually, till the Panthers iced it with a field goal with less than 2 minutes to go. Davenport goes to 7-0 on the year, but they've got Saginaw Valley State, Ferris State, and Grand Valley State left. Talk about no gimmies, huh? Mary remains the NSIC's lone winless team, 0-8 on the season.
Jeff, did you have much reaction to seeing that score?
Well, and I don't mean to be catty, but we had a Davenport in our living room.
See, Tom, that's why we bring him on for this kind of stuff. I can't get this from you, Frederick, but yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little bit surprised when I saw the score on game day. Zimmer and the other guys are saying the scores. I was like, whoa, really? Davenport's undefeated. I don't know if that says a lot about the slate they've played so far. I'm not sure. But you know what? It does indicate that Mary has got to be making progress up there, and that's good to see.
Next up is my game. Winona State came here to Sioux Falls and won 42-35 at Bob Young Field. Cougars are up 20-7, but then the defense once again proved to be the Achilles heel. It allowed 6 more explosive plays, including TD runs of 75 and 77 yards by Caron Hendred. Listen to the time of possession on 4 of the Warriors' 6 touchdowns. You ready? 11 seconds, 39 seconds, 6 seconds, 41 seconds. Wow. USF rallied from 28-20 and 35-28 to tie things with 1:19 to go, but committed a pass interference penalty and allowed a 35-yard run to put Winona on the doorstep, from which they scored with 38 seconds left. And they improved to 4-4. Camden Dean threw for 5 scores for the Cougars. He rushed for more than 100 for the 3rd time, but he fumbled deep in his own end, which led to the Warriors taking their first lead. Plus, his receiving core in this game was depleted when Carter Slykehouse, Adonis Hutchinson, and Jalen Taylor all left with injury. Cougars now 3-5 with a trip to number 3 Pittsburgh State looming.
Well, I thought Winona's front would give Sioux Falls a little bit of troubles. Maybe cause a turnover, a few sacks, something like that. And it looks like they bothered them enough. Winona's offense, I mean, they haven't been putting up 42 very often this year. So the fact that they were able to reach that kind of number and come away with this is a big feather in their cap, because now they're back to even again. As we go ahead and kind of move on up. So they still have a chance at the winning season. Sioux Falls is probably not going to happen with Pitt State looming. I wouldn't probably take anybody in the Northern Sun at Pitt, if we're going to be real honest. Jeff, you've gotten a chance to see both teams. Sioux Falls obviously defensively has been a big challenge for them this year. When you were at Winona a week ago, what did you see there with the Warriors?
Well, they were really fired up. You could tell, because as Tom knows, you're looking right over the top of their bench.
Great vantage point too, though, right?
Well, if you like deer hunting shacks, yeah.
Anyway,
that's one of Frederick's favorite places. You wouldn't believe it, Jeff, but it is.
Well, it was a little messy when I got there, so I knew Tom wasn't the last to leave, because he cleans up when he leaves. Winona, their quarterback in the first half was great. The second half, his percentage was lower, and he kind of became a 55% passer, which what he was on the year.
Sure. But
they had 7 sacks, but they couldn't stop the run. And they did have a kick return for a touchdown in that game as well. But, they're good. They're a good team. And Sioux Falls is a good team offensively, really good. And that had to be an exciting game to do, but I've been on the end of those too, Tom, and it's frustrating to lose.
5 losses this year. And in those 5 losses, the opponent has scored 40 or more each time. So that sums it up right there.
And I'll just tell you this, Jim Heinitz used to say back in 88 and 89, when he had those playoff teams and the Division II championships were in Florence, Alabama, he always said the road to Florence goes through Pittsburgh. Kansas. He was using the Bum Phillips line. Of course, Matt Phillips is not old enough, but
I remember the Bummerooski.
Yeah, it's almost Oklahoma.
All right.
Like them. Yeah.
Continuing our recap here, Wade and Wes and how many other Phillips there were. Concordia visited Bemidji, lost 38-3 to the Golden Bears as the Beavers easily improved to 6-1. It was a light day for Brandon Alt, just 10 of 16 passing for just over 100 yards. He had 2 touchdowns though. Jalen Richardson, another 100-yard day for CSP, but the Bears were no match. They're 2-6 this year, 1-6 in the conference.
You know, the Beavers defense is really good. And just like we said about Duluth a week ago, when they play the teams on the lower side of things, they really take care of business and make it a one-sided contest. You know, you had a chance, Jeff, to see Concordia a little bit earlier in the year. Doesn't seem like they're quite the same squad when you guys saw them.
No, I don't think so. And even when Tom saw him, right, they get some injuries and they lose, and it's tough sledding. And I think that's kind of what they've run into. I think if he can ever get it going where they win 3, 4, 5 games in the first 6, 7, they'll be a dangerous team too.
Sure.
MSU Moorhead improved to 4-3 in NSIC play, 5-3 overall, with a 34-17 win at Southwest Minnesota State. Dragon quarterback Jack Strand had an off day. He was 36 of 51 for 349 yards, but only 2 touchdowns, and he threw 3 picks. Gage Florence, 15 catches. Off day for him? No, a pretty good day for him. Dragons got a defensive score while picking Mustang quarterback Marcus Martin 3 times. SMSU, 1-7 for the year, 1-6 in the conference in Coach Scott Underwood's second year.
Tom, you know, we said at the beginning of the year that we thought SMSU might have the toughest schedule of anybody. And because they started off with such a rough slate, and then we thought maybe this would be the point where they'd be a little bit, games would be more winnable. And now you got, you know, this squad, Moorhead, all of a sudden playing like they're a strong middle of the pack squad. So their offense, the Mustangs offense, just isn't quite enough. They were able to get some picks here, but the Dragons are just too much. You haven't gotten a chance, Jeff, to see Southwest yet, but you know, when you were calling the game against Moorhead, you probably couldn't blink because they get the ball, snap it, go, and I mean, it's quarterback doesn't hold the ball very long or anything.
Augustana did play Southwest early in October. 38-6 was the final. But yeah, I mean, the MSU Moorhead, well, would they run the ball 1 time against Sioux Falls?
That's right. That's right.
A little bit more than that.
Moorhead, or Mankato it was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that game. I mean, Strand just gets rid of it so fast that, and his receivers catch the ball.
They go fight, don't they?
Yeah. They made 3 one-handed catches in the game at Augustana that were unbelievable.
A couple of those against Sioux Falls too. Ryan Bieberdorf comes to mind.
Yeah. So
absolutely,
they're dangerous.
Moving on, Minnesota Duluth from my old hometown. 42-7 win in Minot. Bulldogs outgained the Beavers 398-93. They got 100-yard rushing days from their quarterback, Kyle Walljasper, plus Jalen McKnight. McKnight scored thrice, Walljasper twice. UMD, the NSIC's #1 defense, also added a score on that end. They improved to 6-1 in the league, 7-1 for the year. Minot not able to build on its win from the previous week, and the Beavers are 1-7.
Yeah, we kind of said that that's a tough one after you get your win. By the way, now you get to go up to Duluth. Duluth defense is really playing lights out, and you know, not a good match here when they stop the run as well as they do. They're the best in stopping the run in the league. For Minot State to be a run-based team.
Wayne State went into Aberdeen in our final game from last week, put up a 3-score lead, but ended up losing 28-26 when Drew Smoke converted a 21-yard field goal with 3 seconds left. 2 pick sixes fueled that comeback as the Wolves intercepted Wayne State quarterback Nick Bowen 4 times in total. Wide receiver Dwaylen Ingram had a monster day for Northern. 9 catches, 164 yards. Wayne's now 4-3 in the league, 5-3 overall. And Northern State, looky, back at 500. They've won 3 in a row.
This is just a wild game. Is the nightcap, and I'm not gonna lie, I like having a nightcap game. I can
Like having a nightcap, period.
Yeah. So 19-0 at half. It looked like it was gonna be all Wayne. And then all of a sudden they're sparked by the pick six. Then things kind of snowball from there. And, Wayne's just got to be shaking their heads getting on the bus, wondering how they let this game get away from them. And maybe their season as well as they get saddled, with their third loss. Upcoming, Jeff, you guys have a trip to Northern. I'm assuming you're kind of keeping a little eye on what's going on up there, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. And these 2 teams are the next 2 opponents for Augustana.
Right.
Before Edgy at the end. And of course, I think Mankato still plays, or Minnesota State still has Duluth left. And Bemidji has Duluth. And so there's some interesting games here down the stretch. It's almost like when the NFL changes game times or moves nights. Schedulers did a really good job of the end of the season here.
No, you're exactly right.
No need to do any flex.
No, we don't.
All right. Who's the exclusive sponsor of NSIC Weekly? Funny you should ask. It's Boss's Pizza and Chicken. And they've got a new entity that is on fire. It's En Fuego, First and Tenders. These chicken tenders are a delivery or pickup product only. Available only at the 2 Sioux Falls locations or up in Brookings for now. These are the best chicken tenders you can find. Coated with buttermilk, hand-breaded when you order. So when you pick them up or have them delivered, they are crispy and fresh. Choose from 15 different sauces for dipping. They use, or you can choose from actually 20 different dry rubs to apply to the chicken tenders as well. All these meals come with fries. You can choose from multiple sides. How about zesty coleslaw, hearty potato salad, beans, and even hot and mild wings if you'd like some bones with your chicken. Ordering only online at firstandtenders.com, an offshoot of our exclusive sponsor, Boss's Pizza and Chicken.
By the way, trivia question. Do anybody know who came up with the First and Tenders name for that ghost kitchen thing Bosses is doing here?
I suppose it was Jeremy Seafelt, the owner of Boss's Pizza and Chicken.
Mick Gary.
Huh.
Yep. I should have put that in the Northern Sun Jeopardy.
How did you suss that out?
On the Facebook. It's another social media thing that you don't know anything about.
Mick Gary, former longtime Argus leader, sports writer, now employed by Jeff's former employer, Sanford Health.
Before every Augustana game, Boss's Chicken and Pizza is upstairs. And I love Boss's Chicken.
See, we're ringing endorsement there, guys. Did you guys catch that? We're going to snip
Jeff,
that. We're going to snip that for future, Jeff.
Okay.
Don't ask Whit about Boss's Pizza, though.
It was a pizza challenge that didn't go so well, and
I saw some video of it. I thought you looked like you're going to win, but
no.
Yeah, win what? I have no idea, but yes,
He's still battling a little acid indigestion since then.
yes, won plenty of that. Pepperoni, bad choice.
Yes, spicy. Remember that old Alka-Seltzer commercial, Jeff? You and I are that same.
Fizz. Oh, whatever.
What a relief it is.
I ate the whole thing. All right, time now for the Week 9 contests as we move right along. Our folks, our friends at Massey Computer Rankings, furnishing the projected margin of victory. And we will begin with Jeff's contest. Augustana at Wayne State down at Bob Cunningham Field in Wayne, America. High noon on Saturday. Augustana is favored by 7. Wayne's got to be smarting after that loss at Northern. Wildcats have lost 2 straight. I picked Augustana to beat Mankato, and I'm not abandoning the bandwagon now. Jeff?
I would agree, and I don't have a choice. But there's been some
Pretty
pretty
well.
kind of Wayne games in Wayne.
Yeah.
You're riding the bus with the team, Jeff?
No, I drive separate just in case.
This one here, I find a little more interesting than the records. Hoggie's coming off a really a high emotion game. Couldn't play any better. At least I don't know if anybody in the Northern Sun can play any better than they did against Mankato. At the same time, I think Wayne State's going to be hopping mad, and they're kind of on life support with regard to the playoff possibility. I think they throw the ball a lot better than Mankato. I'm taking Wayne in the upset pick here.
Wow.
I know. I've been kind of holding back, Tom. I'm throwing a lot of heavy leather this time.
Moving on. Winona State at Moorhead. Dragons by 3 up at NSIC Stadium, Shields Field. The team I cover has played these 2 schools the past 2 weeks. I was more impressed with Moorhead, and since the Dragons are at home, I'm going with them to make it 3 consecutive victories here in 2023. Fellas?
If they do a decent job against Winona State's ground game, I'll take MSU Moorhead as well. But if it's windy, could be interesting.
I think it's really spot on. I think it's really key, not necessarily what happens on the offensive side for the Dragons, because I think even with wind, they throw such short passes that I'm not sure I'm totally concerned about that. However, I just get concerned is their defense going to play well enough. I think that they're going to. I still don't have full trust in the Winona offense. So I'm taking Moorhead here.
All right, the next up on our chart there, we're going to save that one. We're going to call an audible. We're going to drop down 1 line. All right?
That's our game of the week.
Right.
Aren't you supposed to yell Omaha when you
Omaha State. I think Peyton Manning would get a piece of the action if I yelled Omaha. 1-7 Minot State at 0-8 University of Mary. That's another high noon start. I hear Frankie Lane singing in the background. Mary is favored by 8. Ooh, boy, here the battle of the Big Lake goes to Mary for no other reason than the Marauders are at home and the fact they scored 34 last week, and Massey picks them. I'm going with them.
I'll take Mary too.
Oh, wow. This is interesting. This means that you can count the W for Minot if I'm going to go with Mary also. But I just, it's one of those things where last year the Beavers snuck one out here, and now with the Marauders are starting to play better, a little uptick in performance. I got Chance Schillinger getting his first W of the year here.
My late wife's name was Mary, so I have a soft spot for Mary.
Fair enough.
This week in this one, the Battle of the Big Lake. All right, Northern State at Concordia St. Paul. That's another noon start. NSU is favored by just 10. I find that a little bit light. Wolves on a roll, as I mentioned. They've won 3 straight. I think they make it 4 in a row, and by more than that 10 spot that Massey's predicting.
Well, Tom, you and I are agreed on everything here. I'm starting to get concerned.
Oh, no worry, we're the same age.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I'll go with Northern too.
Let me ask you guys this: if this game was played a month ago at Concordia, are you taking Northern or no?
Probably not.
I would agree with that too.
It kind of feels like, CSP has kind of fallen off here. Ugly loss at Minot, and then didn't seem like they had much fight in them this last week against Bemidji. Now, Northern State is not exactly a road warrior. They're 1-3 on the away from the bank. I have a feeling that they're going to have a game similar to their Southwest game where Wasn't real pretty, but they won, and I think that's what we're going to come away with here, because I think Coach Schmidt has the ship going in the right direction right now.
Moving on. Mankato, Minnesota. Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Southwest visits MSU Mankato. Mavericks favored by 34. I fully expect Mankato to win. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to their first loss of the season, but I expect it to be close to that 34, the margin of victory for Mankato.
42-14, MSU.
That's 28. They don't cover. Whit?
This just can't go well for Southwest. I mean, Mankato is going to be pissed about their performance a week ago. They're going to be bouncing around like a pogo stick on Viagra. I mean, it's going to be a bad deal. And so I got Mankato covering is what I have.
I have these visions in my head that
How's that pogo stick going to ingest that Viagra is what I want to know. But
moving on
for a later time. Sioux Falls at Pittsburgh State, late start, 2 p.m. Saturday in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Massey says Pitt by 35. I'm really looking forward to the Cougars' first non-conference game since a 2019 playoff contest at Colorado Mines. But against the number 3 team in the country, when the Cougars are experiencing a down year, doesn't bode well. Hate to say it, but I think that spread sounds about right.
Yeah. Oh boy. I've had a chance to watch some Pitt State games. I think Cougar fans are going to get a chance to see how fast this defense is from Pitt State to the ball. They have a great tight end, Devin Garrison, who's kind of like a Shane Zylstra, who was at Mankato a few years back. This guy's gonna be an All-American. They use him like a wideout, and a thing that'll be very interesting, guys. And I think, Tom, I told you this, that they passed a rule in the MIAA about a year ago where in an effort to increase game day energy and environment, the band, for the team gets to play while the other team's got the ball and all that kind of stuff, which I'm just not sure that's going to be something USF's going to find helpful. But I got the Gorillas in this one.
Jeff?
58-31. Pittsburgh State.
I'd take that. I'd take that in a heartbeat. I don't know if we're going to get 31 against this defense, but we'll see. Finally, our game of the week. Pull up that thing you've been working on. There we go. There it is.
You know what? Our graphic department, Jeff, spent just days over this. I tell you, it was quite the project.
And
That's
the budget. Wow.
Yeah.
Bemidji State at Minnesota Duluth. That's noon on Saturday at Molosky Stadium in Duluth. UMD favored by 2. This new feature is called the Tale of the Tape. Explain yourself, big man. How'd you come up with this little thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're really a pretty tech-savvy group here. So this newfangled, our graphics department came up with this fancy Tale of the Tape. And, as you take a look at this here, 2 strong offenses, 2 strong defenses. I think one of the biggest differences that you see is that a little bit more balance for Bemidji. Offensively, UMD is a little bit more dependent on the running game and Kyle Walljasper, and not that I can blame him. BSU has also played a little tougher slate. They've seen Mankato and Wayne, where UMD has only seen Wayne so far amongst the kind of the top teams in the standings. So I think it's an interesting matchup that we have here. Tom, how do you see it going forward?
I love the way you incorporated the school's colors there. That sets it off beautifully.
Oh, I'll give kudos to our staff who was on top of that.
You put some thought into that one.
Yes,
well,
yes.
I'm going to go with the Bulldogs because I've seen them in person. I was impressed with them, especially Kyle Walljasper and Sam Pitts. And I'm going to go with them because they're at home too. Jeff?
Well, I have a question. How many people are in your graphics department, Matt?
Look around.
It's the light blue shirt on the podcast.
Okay. My second question is, if the Beavers lose because they're only playing 10 games, does that hurt their playoff chances?
I think there's it kind of depends on how the Texas teams do and all that stuff, but I think it has to be part of the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I
I'm
want
going
to
to Beavers.
Ooh,
Must win.
tiebreaker here. You're the third man out here, the odd man.
Yeah. I've kind of gone back and forth on this one. I think the Bulldogs are going to be really, really tough at home. But you know what? I just think that the fact that the Beavers are a little bit more multiple offensively, I'm taking them on the road.
You guys ganging up on me. 2 against
Yeah.
1. It's fair. All right, Whit, break out that abacus that you've got stored at the hacienda there. Shay Witwicky. What's your lead in this pick'em that we've got going through 7-8 weeks now? What is it?
Well, I'm 51-5, and you are 49-7. Our guy Tukes from last week beat both of us for a 1 week thing. I mean, totally unacceptable for us to allow a noob to come in and do that on the pod. But at least we don't have to worry about Courier coming on and doing that because he gets more wrong than anybody. So,
All right, we'll let you know, Jeff, how you fared here next week.
I'm sure Matt will, especially if he beats me.
So, master of his own domain there in the blue shirt, the graphics department, the master producer.
Yes.
Playing NSIC Jeopardy or taking any mailbag questions this week?
Oh, it's Northern Sun Jeopardy has to happen. I mean, this is pretty much why our rabid fan base turns in, is to cheer against you like I do. I mean, this week I get to cheer for the challenger, as I'm going to have Tom go against Jeff here, and we're going to have 5 questions. We will alternate who goes first, hands on buzzers. Tom, for comedic reasons, I will start with you first. Let me get our Jeopardy music all tuned up here. I think we're all set. For those playing at home, feel free to track how you do, but don't feel like you need to share your results with us because we really don't care. I'm joking. We care, but we don't. So question number 1, Frederick. What offense produces the most yards per play at 6.9?
Where's the music?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
And Jeff, composed the music or wrote the music?
No, I don't. Henry Mancini, I'm guessing.
Yes. Merv Griffin.
Oh, Merv.
We're about to buzz you in a minute.
I'm gonna Minnesota Duluth.
Mr. Filling, what is your answer?
Well, I know Augustana is 6.8, and you said 6.9.
I did say 6.9.
I'm going to go with Bemidji.
It is Duluth. So Frederick starts off in the lead, which is things we're not used to saying on the show.
Well,
question number 2, Jeff. What defense allows the most yards per play at 7.4?
I think I know
Sioux
this.
Falls.
Tom, what do you have?
That would be my guess as well.
Tom might have given it away by his vigor to get the answer out right there. Okay, you guys both got that one right. Okay, question number 3. Tom, this is you starting. Which offensive line has allowed the most sacks this year?
I thought you were going to say which offensive line per guy weighs the most.
You would think that.
Oh, I'm going to say it's, unfortunately, for Jack Strand, has bathed in ice practically every game. MSU Moorhead. He throws so much.
Jeff, what do you have?
I'm going to say Mary.
Mary is the correct answer. Wow, we got a thriller here. It's 2-2.
2-2 with 1 to go.
Oh, no.
Well, 2 to go, but don't worry. We have 5. So I won't, But so how about the leading sacker in the conference? We've talked about him a few times on the show, Drew Hennessy. Who's second in sacks in the Northern Sun?
Jeez. Who's first on this one?
It is Jeff.
No, thank God.
Remember his name? I can't remember it. He's got 8, I believe.
If you want to give me a number and a team,
90 for MSU. It
Yep,
was last week.
Maven Krejci.
Yeah.
that is the correct answer. But nice job, both of you guys. Okay, Frederick, the last one here. Okay, I know you spent all afternoon scouring over the stats and pretend like you haven't. So, how about we go with who leads the Northern Sun in touchdown receptions?
Ooh, good question.
Whenever we ask you, we got to hit the music because I know it's going to be a while.
That was my Danny Thomas spit take there. I'm going with Ingram. Waylon Ingram.
Okay, Tom's answer, Dwaylen Ingram. Jeff,
Well,
what are your thoughts?
thing, but I don't want to.
Would
But
you say?
I would say the same, Ingram, but I don't want to because I want you to win.
Well, you don't have to do that.
Okay, the answer, guys, is not either one of those two. It's Duncan Busby over at Bemidji. Okay,
Huh.
He's got 9. Now we have to have a tiebreaker. Okay, here's the tiebreaker. Frederick, USF had a big win at UND. What was the score of that football game?
28-16.
Jeff, you mentioned a game against Grand Valley in 2010 that the Vikings won in the playoffs. What was the score of that game?
I'm going to lose. I think it was 38-10.
Dang it, Jeff. So the actual score was
ask me.
38-6.
Was
And
it?
Frederick,
Ask me last week's score.
and Frederick, USF won 28-13.
13.
Oh, so we're both wrong.
Okay,
But
somehow or other, you guys have tied. Inconceivable.
we were close on those scores, Matt.
Yeah.
This is going to be sudden death next year. I can only imagine the drama and the anticipation by our fan base for Final Jeopardy next year between you two.
Yeah, I think that's quite enough, I'd say, for this go round. Okay.
Yeah,
It is.
Tom has a hard pass.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were good sports. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
NSIC Weekly is a production of D2Football.com. Join the D2 community every Sunday night at 7 for a deep dive into Division II football on X, formerly Twitter. It's on YouTube and it's on the Facebook. I'm not, but I hear it is. If you can't make it live like this podcast, it's available to watch at your leisure. You can find it on YouTube. Just search for it. Thank you, Jeff Filling, for joining us. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks, buddy.
Social media guy, Jeff, are you on Twitter? Or are you on the Facebook or anything like that?
Yeah, on Twitter. I don't know what my handle is.
They can find you then.
Yeah, we can.
It's probably at Jeff Filling. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Loyal fan base, we appreciate your patronage. This is Tom and Matt saying so long. We hope you'll return next time for another edition of NSIC Weekly.